This is Alienware's new M18 gaming laptop. Let's start off by unboxing it, shall we? It says Intel inside because it's the Intel's version. There is an AMD version coming out in a month or so. Alright, you have this cushion here. You have the laptop, which can be removed by lifting this up. It's not too heavy compared to the original 18-inch. Inside we have some stickers and some other things right there that we don't care about. And the most disappointing part about the unboxing is the power brick. They are still using the same power brick from 2011, the 330 watt. The slim version of this is actually available as an option in the future. I actually already have one. I'll show you in a second how the slim one looks like. But yeah, I'm probably not going to be using this. I'll just use the slim one. There it is. The new laptop features a aluminum lid on top and aluminum on the bottom. It's much more premium than the previous generation M series, and the build quality is excellent all around. Looking at the palm rest, we have these intake vents here, along with our little backlit Alienware head right there. We have our keyboard and our trackpad, which is a decent size. The palm rest area is a soft touch feel. It's rubberized, it's definitely not plastic, and it feels very premium. In terms of keyboard, this is the Cherry MX per key backlight keyboard, and it has a nice sound to it. Let's take a listen, shall we? So as you can see, it has a nice little click feel to it, and the touchpad is a decent size. It's not too small, it's not too big, but it's very smooth. It has Windows Precision drivers. The laptop has thin bezels on the left, top, and right side, and the bottom is a bit on the thicker side. There is a Windows Hello IR camera, and it's very fast at working. Speaking of the webcam, what you're seeing right now is the video and audio from the M18's webcam and microphone. It's supposed to be a 1080p webcam, and as you can see, it doesn't seem like it's that high quality for a 1080p webcam. But it'll get the job done for those Teams meetings if you happen to do those on your Alienware. Unfortunately, the bottom doesn't have the Tobi Eye Tracking that the previous Area-51m models had, which was kind of cool. On the back of the laptop, we have a alien head that lights up, and we have our Tron lighting here. As you can see, looking at the ports, we have a vent here. We have two Thunderbolt ports, a USB Type-A, HDMI, mini display port, full-size HDMI, the power jack, and another vent exhaust here. Looking at the left side of the laptop, we have our exhaust vent there, an Ethernet port, two USB Type-A's, a headphone jack, and our left speaker. And on the right side of the laptop, we have our exhaust vent here. We have a USB Type-C and our right speaker. On the front of the laptop, there isn't anything here besides your fingers to open up the display. Looking at the bottom of the laptop, we have these intake vents here to help with the cooling. Unlike the previous generation, which used dual 330 watt AC adapters, well technically 330 and 180, the new M18 only uses a single 330 watt. What this means is you're limited to a total CPU and GPU power of 250 watts. And you'll see this limitation kick in when we look at benchmarks. In terms of power brick, this is what you get. Now, depending on where you're from, at least in Singapore, you're getting this one. This is the new slimline adapter, which for some reason we're not getting in North America yet. Now, the thing is, this slim adapter is supposed to be an option, so hopefully we get the option soon. As you can see, it's a lot thinner, it's a little bit smaller, but it is also lighter, so yeah, the new adapter is definitely better. I'll put a link in the description on where to buy this actually, because you can order this not from Dell, but from a third party. When comparing the new M18 to the original 18 series, you will kind of see that it keeps a similar DNA, except for it's very thin. Yes, even compared to the Area-51m, which was a thicker laptop, Alienware decided not to make this a thick laptop. Somewhere along the lines, Alienware decided to get rid of the lights all around the computers, the lighted up touchpads, and now we only have a lightable keyboard here. Alienware's older designs, as you can see, definitely stood out against the rest of the crowd. As time went on, Alienware decided to go a little bit more mainstream, and this is how the new laptop looks now compared to the old ones. Comparing the size to the previous 18, as you can see, it's not as long from left to right, and it's a lot thinner, but it is deeper, it comes out more. So this is due to the 16 by 10 18.0 inch display versus the original 18.4-inch display of the older laptops. Versus the M18x R1 and R2 series, it's a similar story. It's not as long from left to right and is a decent amount deeper, but of course it's a lot thinner, and as you can see, the I/O is not even comparable. Interestingly, when we compare it to the Area-51m series, the dimensions are very similar, except for it's just a little bit deeper and obviously thinner. So if you have an Area-51m, you get a good idea of how big this laptop is. Looking at the display, it has some amazing colors and viewing angles are really good thanks to the IPS panel. This one is the Quad HD 165Hz display, and this one has a 100% sRGB, 100% DCI-P3, and my colorimeter says it's 87% Adobe RGB, but it is supposed to be 100. In terms of brightness, it's around 300. As you can see here, mine's measuring exactly at 304. Now, compared to the 500 nit display from the MacBook Pro, as you can see, the difference is not significant in real life. Hopefully this camera's capturing it really well. But yeah, both of these displays, just to show y'all here, both these displays are at 100% brightness. This one as well. And yeah, as you can see, the MacBook is brighter, but even though it's a 300 nit brightness display, it's not a bad display. Here are both displays with a white background, and the lights are now turned on. As you can see, this is how they look from far away. Next, let's listen to the audio. But before we do, I highly recommend either using headphones or higher quality speakers because you'll really get to hear the difference if you do. You know, it's really funny. So the M18x R1 sounds the best, then it's the M18x R2, then it's the Alienware 18, and then the Area-51m R1 and the M18 is kind of close. It's funny, as the years gone by, the audio got worse for some reason. Now, don't get me wrong, the audio is not bad. It gets very loud and it's pretty crisp. Overall, it's good. It's just lacking a subwoofer. You can hear the difference between the M18x series and this series. If this just had one subwoofer, just one subwoofer, it would have been perfect. The X16, a smaller, thinner laptop, has 6 speakers. This only has 2. Alienware, you need to put a subwoofer in here. In terms of fan noise, when you're using the laptop normally for web browsing, music, or anything like that, the laptop is basically silent. You cannot hear anything at all, which is great. However, let's see how it sounds in game. Next is take a look at performance. Now, please be sure to listen to what I say at the end because there is some important information. Looking at Cinebench R23, we're getting over 33K multi-core stock, and when we tune the system, we're getting over 35K, almost 36K multi-core, and the single core is over 2000, so the CPU performance is there. Looking at TimesSpy, we're getting over 21K GPU score and over 18K CPU score, which isn't bad, but it could use some work. After some tuning, the GPU hits over 23K and the CPU is hitting over 21K. These are some pretty good results. Looking at Firestrike, our GPU score is over 52K and physics is over 44K. And with some tuning, we're hitting 54K and 49K. Here is where you see the combined score is kind of low. This is because of the total 250 watts power limit. Because of the new power limits, you can't have the GPU and CPU running at 100% power at the same time. There is some sort of balance work going on in the background. Looking at QHD gaming performance, as you can see at max settings, basically every game gets over 100 FPS, which is great besides Halo Infinite, and CSGO is getting a lot of FPS, so you can really use that Quad HD 165Hz display. When we turn the resolution down to 1080p, we're getting over 150 FPS in most games, but as you can see, if you get the Full HD 480Hz display, you can't really take advantage of it unless you play esports titles such as CSGO and Overwatch and games like that. So I don't recommend the Full HD display unless you're an esports player. Playing at 4K, most games get over 60 FPS, and CSGO of course is still getting a lot of FPS there. Now you can game at 4K as you can see here, and VRAM is not an issue yet. It does have 16 gigabytes. So if you do play 4K, you need the 4090, don't get the 4080 mobile. Looking at temperatures, the GPU runs really cool actually, under 80 degrees in most loads. Now, the CPU, unfortunately, is basically hitting 100 degrees in every workload, and you will see this throughout anything that puts the CPU on load, unfortunately. In terms of battery life, the M18 almost gets 5 hours, which is not bad. The X14 almost gets 7 hours for comparison, and then the Area-51m doesn't even reach 2 hours. However, if you really need battery life, obviously a MacBook Pro is unrivaled even today. Alright, so as you can see, the laptop has a really good performance potential, but there's one problem that's affecting basically every M18 that I've seen so far. On my specific M18, one of the performance cores is hitting 100 degrees Celsius, which is funny because the other cores are around 80 to 90 at max. So there's this like 10 to 15 degrees core differential, and that one core is causing the whole CPU to throttle down. Now, I am thinking of repasting this and seeing if that helps. It should help because there's definitely some sort of issue with the contact. But yeah, so far every M18 has this issue. One way to help alleviate it is to do an undervolt. So if you get BIOS 1.6, you can undervolt. I'll show you in the video how to do that as well later on. And that will help, but again, this is more of a hardware thing where you have to open up the laptop, repaste it, and then that should fix it. So let me know in the comments if y'all want to see me repaste this. Maybe I can do a disassembly video. Alright, so in terms of upgradability, we have our battery here. And then we have two 2230 slots here. Interestingly, if you were to remove this fan, you can actually put full-size SSDs here. I tested this. But yeah, there's that. You have your SODIMM slot here. Another one here. So two SODIMM slots. This is the Wi-Fi card, which can also be upgraded. We have two SSD slots here, so I'm using both of those. Then of course you got your fan. We got this little tiny fan here that seems to blow air towards the RAM. And then another fan here. So yeah, unfortunately the motherboard isn't inverted. So the GPU and CPU plus the heatsink is on the other side. So you have to do a full disassembly to do a repaste, unfortunately. Alright, next let's take a look at Alienware Command Center 6.0. So this is the new command center, and we're just gonna take a quick look at it because they redesigned it, but it's not like that nice. So this is the main screen that you see. You have your laptop here, you have games here, CPU, GPU, and the temps down here. For the first tab here for performance, as you can see, this is the performance view. And up here we have multiple profiles. So if you click this little thing here, it'll show you this. What's kind of funny is the GPU is 5 stars on overdrive, but the CPU never reaches 5 stars. I'll show you guys how to get 5 stars out of that. And if you click advanced here, it tells you what each one does. So I run custom, and to show you all my settings, here's the, well, I guess right now it's actually set to fan speed. So my fan's all set to auto manage. So here we go. As you can see, I am running 5200 megahertz RAM, and I have 64 gigs. I'll put a link in the description to which RAM I have. It's supposed to be 5600, but it's running at 5200. Alienware doesn't want to enable XMP as of right now in the BIOS, so that's unfortunate. Here is my settings here. Everything's auto managed. For GPU, temp limit's 87. These are all 0 because there's no need to overclock. And then yeah, that's that. Over here you have your keyboard and mouse AlienFX stuff here. So if you want to change other things, this is my keyboard layout, and then here you can change all the different things. So there's color, and then there's other lighting effects as well. So if we click all keys here, as you can see, there's color, breathing, spectrum, rainbow wave, and stuff. You can do all those. Here is library, so you can launch your games. There's settings per game here. If you click this, you can click view details. As you can see, there's a performance preset here. There's an AlienFX tab here, so it changes your lighting effects. And then of course here you have your macros. So Next, we have Dolby Atmos. As you guys saw, the sound isn't the greatest. Let me show you guys my settings. You guys can copy these if you like, totally up to you. So Atmos for speakers built in. I use the custom preset, and I just increased the 125 Hz to 12 and then the 250 to 6. And I turn off surround virtualizer and volume leveler. So yeah, these are my settings. I like these. It sounds better. It's not as loud as Alienware's default, but it definitely sounds better to me, and it's what I use for the sound test. Yeah, this is the new control panel. So they do need to work on it because it does run a little slowish. It has gotten better with the newer BIOS update and cleaning installing, but yeah. And then thermal, so to show y'all here, auto manage TCC offset. If you increase this value, it'll throttle your CPU even more than it does now, and then everything's auto here. So yeah, that's Alienware control panel. All right, so in order to get some nice CPU scores, you're gonna need Intel XTU, and let me show you guys my settings here. So the turbo power max just unlimited, the short max unlimited. You can also increase the boost window if you want to 128. It doesn't really matter too much. This is the most important part here, is the core voltage offset. So -100 should be achievable on basically any computer. Now, you can do this in the BIOS. You don't need to use Intel XTU. If you go into the BIOS, as long as you're on 160, you can do this in the BIOS. Alright, in terms of price, this exact configuration has an MSRP of $34.99. Now, that's actually cheaper than MSI, Razer, and all the other competition. Now, I actually have a 15% off coupon when I bought mine, and the specs are on the screen here as you can see. My price was $32.64 after tax. I'm in California, so it's basically 10% for tax. So $32.64 after tax for this system. That's a pretty good deal. I'll put a link in the description to how to sign up for the 15% off coupon. There's no guarantee that it still works. 1 week ago from this video's posting, it worked, but I don't know about as of right now. So go to the link, put in your email. In 2 to 48 hours, you should receive a code, and hopefully it works. But yeah, price is not bad. Alright, so in conclusion, the M18 is a great laptop, probably one of the best for 2023. It has some of the best aesthetics, and the performance is there. The only problem is they just need to figure out that little overheating issue on the 1 to 2 cores that most of these laptops are having. Besides that, this laptop is great. Alienware, enable XMP memory tuning, please, because I want to run at 5600 megahertz. With that said, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and hopefully this has helped. Subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Enter? You like the Alienware, huh? You like the M18? Is it approved by you? Yeah, he likes it too.